Here we are, the Monday before the 2020 NFL Draft, and it's time to get down to business. It's time to give you my 2020 NFL Mock Draft. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Billievers Talk. My name is Joe, and welcome to this 2020 NFL Mock Draft edition of Billievers Talk, where we take a look at the action that's going to happen starting this Thursday, and we see if I can predict what is going to happen. Again, thank you guys for joining me. My name is Joe. If you're new to this channel, guys, you want to be sure to hit that subscribe button. After you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell as we constantly keep you up to date on all things happening in the world of Buffalo sports, including our Buffalo Bills. Again, after you hit that notification bell, while you're here, hit that thumbs up button. Let me know you like this video and leave a comment, guys, as we go through the 2020 NFL Mock Draft. I'm sure there are going to be a lot of picks that you, the fans, disagree with, and I love hearing it, right? I love hearing the disagreement. That's the whole point of these mock drafts. So go ahead, leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think is going to happen Thursday night in the first round of the NFL mock draft. Guys, one or two little things about my mock draft that might be different than most of the mock drafts that you see. First of all, I include trades in my full first round mock draft. So when you listen to what's going to happen, or what I think is going to happen on Thursday night, expect to hear some trades. I believe I have 4 or 5 of them this year in the first round of the NFL draft. Another thing is, guys, I only do one of these. I'm not like some of the other YouTube channels. I'm not like some of the NFL experts who do 5, 6, 7 NFL mock drafts, and then when something happens, they're like, oh, see, I predicted that in my third mock. No, I do one. What I get right. More than likely, it's going to be 1 or 2 picks tops. What I get wrong, normally I get wrong by a wide margin. It's not even close. As I look at this, as I look at this mock draft, and I just created this, there are some things I look at and say, no, there's no way that's going to happen. But you just never know. If the board falls a certain way, maybe other players are valued higher than what we have them valued as, and no one sees it coming. We always see it every year in the NFL draft. Players go higher than we expected. Players fall further than we first expected as well. So as you listen to this mock draft, like I said, let me know what you agree or disagree with, but know that this is the only mock draft I'm going to do, at least the only full first round mock I'm going to do. The rest of the week, I'll tell you what it looks like. If you haven't been following this week, it's going to be a lot of fun. Every day leading up to the NFL draft, which is Thursday, I have something going on, so make sure you're tuned in. Today, Monday, obviously I'm giving you my full first round mock draft with trades. Then Tuesday, I'm going to give you my full Buffalo Bills 7-round mock draft without trades. Then Wednesday, I'm going to give you my full 7-round Buffalo Bills draft with trades. And then Wednesday evening, it's going to be a lot of fun. Hope you guys can join me. If you're subscribed to the channel, you know normally I go live Thursday nights at 9:30, right? Well, with the NFL draft going on, with a lot of YouTube channels already doing the NFL draft for you, the fans, I decided, you know what, good time for me to take some time off, enjoy it with some friends and family, and let them worry about how to cover the NFL draft. So that's what I'm going to do. However, I am going to go live Wednesday evening, probably around 9:30, same time, and we're going to do a Buffalo Bills mock draft together. I'm going to give you some names of players left available on the board, and we'll vote on who the Buffalo Bills should pick up with that selection, and we'll do it together and we see how we do. So again, join me Wednesday evening so we could do a full Buffalo Bills mock draft. So let's get into the first round mock draft. Again, this is going to be the first round with trade, and like I said, this is the only one I'm doing on this Monday. Again, the draft's coming up Thursday. I hope you guys look forward to it. I look forward to it. I think it's the best weekend outside of the NFL regular season or NFL football schedule. So I hope you guys are going to enjoy it. But within the 2020 NFL draft, the first pick belongs to the Cincinnati Bengals, guys. And I think a lot of people have been writing this pick in since probably about the time Tua Tagovailoa actually injured himself during the regular season last year for Alabama. I think most people agree that the #1 overall pick for the Cincinnati Bengals is going to be Joe Burrow, quarterback out of LSU. Now, there are some rumors that Joe Burrow doesn't want to play in LSU, and it might turn into an Eli Manning or a John Elway type situation. There's no saying what's going to happen, but I think Joe Burrow does want to play for the Cincinnati Bengals, or at least does want to be the #1 overall pick in the NFL draft. And that's what happens here. The Cincinnati Bengals take Joe Burrow, quarterback, out of LSU. And just like that pick has been penciled in for a while, the #2 overall pick has been penciled in for a while, as the Washington Redskins own that #2 overall pick. And one of the needs they have is defensive ends. And probably what most experts would agree is the best player available in this draft is a defensive end. So they go there. It's a good marriage, if you want to say so. So the Washington Redskins, with the 2nd overall pick, select Chase Young, defensive end, out of Ohio State. Then it gets a little hairy, right? Then it gets a little tricky. Detroit Lions currently own that 3rd overall pick, but a lot of experts are seeing maybe some trade activity there. And what I say is, normally when there's smoke, there is fire. So with the 3rd overall pick, the Detroit Lions make a trade, and they trade with a team that might surprise you, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville currently sitting with the 9th overall pick, and they trade up to that 3rd overall pick with the Detroit Lions. The trade's going to work out like this. The Detroit Lions will give the Jacksonville Jaguars the #3 overall pick. In return, the Detroit Lions get both the Jacksonville Jaguars #9 overall pick and the #20 overall pick. So they get 2 first-rounders in the 2020 NFL draft. For the Jaguars to move up to 3, I think the value there is good for both sides, especially knowing what the Jaguars are moving up for. And with the 3rd overall pick in the NFL draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars take quarterback Justin Herbert out of Oregon. Again, the injury information we have on Tua Tagovailoa makes it a little less likely that he's going to land in the top 5. In fact, some experts have him falling a little bit now that he failed his last physical. There's a lot of question marks with Tua that we are not sure about, so that means Justin Herbert's going to jump above him as far as ranking in the quarterback position. The Jacksonville Jaguars take him here. I know a lot of Jaguars fans still want to see what Minshew can do, and I'm not saying that the Jaguars won't see what he can do. However, when Gardner Minshew was drafted late last year in the NFL draft, he was not drafted to be a starter of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And guys, let's be honest, he is not going to sell tickets for the long haul. I think with Justin Herbert, you got a guy that fits all the measurables, right? He has all the intangibles that fits the prototypical quarterback. Taller quarterback, good arm angle, good release. He knows how to move around the pocket if needed. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars get a good pick here. 3rd overall, trade with the Detroit Lions, and they get Justin Herbert, quarterback, out of Oregon. Guys, let me know, do you think Justin Herbert has a chance to go before Tua Tagovailoa, or do you think Tua is just that talented that a team's willing to take a chance on him before they go after a guy like a Justin Herbert? That takes us to our 4th overall pick, and that is currently owned by the New Jersey Giants. Now, if I don't see a trade with the Detroit Lions at 3, I would especially expect to see a trade with the New Jersey Giants at 4, just because of the team that's sitting at 5 needing a quarterback. So I expect to see some activity, whether it be at 3 or 4. I put it at 3. So with the 4th overall pick, the New York Giants select who I think is the best player in this NFL draft and would be the best player available on my board, and that's Isaiah Simmons, outside linebacker out of Clemson. I think Isaiah Simmons checks all the boxes, if you want to say. I think he's a great player, had a great NFL combine, really showed out there, and I think he's going to have a great NFL career. In fact, I think he's going to be a better prospect than Chase Young turns out to be. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Do you like Isaiah Simmons better than Chase Young, or do you think Chase Young is just a different type of animal? So with the 4th overall pick, the New York Giants select Isaiah Simmons, outside linebacker from Clemson. Then we get to the 5th pick. And if you're a Bills fan, that 5th pick is very important because that's the first of 3 first-round draft picks by the Miami Dolphins. So this will really speak to whether Miami Dolphins, what direction they're going into, if they have the right front office, if they have the right coaching staff, depending on what they decide to do right here at 5. So if you're a Bills fan, you're really paying attention to this pick, because there are some people thinking that they're going to take a quarterback. They're going to take a Tua Tagovailoa with the 5th overall pick. Now, I don't agree with that theory. I think at 5, the Miami Dolphins realize that, hey, it would be great to have a franchise quarterback, but we need to protect whoever we get at that quarterback position. And I think with the 5th overall pick, the Miami Dolphins select Tristan Wirfs, offensive tackle from Iowa. I think that with this pick, they really helped their offensive line out a lot. Remember, Ryan Fitzpatrick was, someone is not mobile, right? So you need someone who's going to protect that front line for him. Even if you start Josh Rosen, again, not a guy who's known for his mobility, I think that you need to get a guy or get pieces on that offensive line that are going to give your quarterback time. And if you do decide to draft a quarterback later in this NFL draft, you still need a offensive line that's going to protect for him. So I think with the 5th overall pick, the Miami Dolphins select Tristan Wirfs, offensive tackle out of Iowa. And I think that starts a little bit of a run here on offensive tackles, as the 3 out of the next 4 picks are in my mock draft offensive tackles, and that continues with the LA Chargers sitting there at 6. Now, a lot of people believe that the Chargers should go after a quarterback. Currently, Tyrod Taylor is slated to be their starter week 1, and we know how badly Tyrod Taylor's been waiting for this opportunity. I think the coaching staff wants to give him this opportunity, and that's not to say the Chargers don't take like a Jake Fromm or someone like that later in this NFL draft, but I think in the first round, they do exactly what the Dolphins just did and say, hey, if this guy's going to be the quarterback for the near future, Tyrod Taylor that is, we need somebody who's going to protect him. And so they go after an offensive tackle. In my opinion, the best offensive tackle available after Wirfs is off the board is Becton Mekhi Becton, offensive tackle out of Louisville, and that is the player that the LA Chargers pick up at 6. So I think that it goes back-to-back offensive tackles here, leading us to the 7th overall pick, currently owned by the Carolina Panthers. We all know what's been going on with the Carolina Panthers this offseason with the signing of Teddy Bridgewater, with the release of Cam Newton. There's a lot of things going on in Carolina, but we also know that their defense struggled last season. And we know that this defense might need to get a little bit younger, might need to do a better job. There are plenty of selections the Carolina Panthers could make here that would make sense to me. But in my mock draft, I have them going cornerback. I have them taking the best player available on the board at this point, a player that most drafts don't see falling this far. I have them picking Jeffrey Okudah, cornerback out of Ohio State. Moving down to 8, you have the Arizona Cardinals. And again, as I said, you have a great young quarterback within the Arizona Cardinals system right now, a nice coaching staff. They realize what you need to do is protect that young quarterback in Kyler Murray. So that's what they go out and do. They get the next best offensive tackle on the board. That's Andrew Thomas, offensive tackle out of Georgia. So now you go on to the 9th pick, and if you remember earlier in the mock draft, I already had the Jacksonville Jaguars trading out of 9, moving up to 3, and the 9th overall pick now belongs to the Detroit Lions. But here's where the surprise comes, or a little bit more of a surprise if you're not already surprised by my mock draft. With the 9th overall pick, the Detroit Lions decided to do something else. They decided to trade down again. I mean, what an idea this would be, right? This would leave the Detroit Lions with 3 first-round draft picks if what I'm saying is going to be correct. I think with the 9th overall pick, after they already traded with the Jaguars to move down and acquire 2 first-round selections, I think the Detroit Lions trade with the Miami Dolphins, getting the last 2 of the Miami Dolphins first-round draft picks. The Miami Dolphins trade the 18th and 26th overall pick to the Detroit Lions. In return, Detroit gives Miami the number 9 overall pick, and they also give them their 3rd round pick, the 35th overall pick. So you're talking about the Miami Dolphins giving up the 18th and 26th overall pick. So that means the Detroit Lions now have the 18th, 20th, and 26th overall pick in this year's NFL draft. If all I said is going to be accurate, I think that's a good haul for the Detroit Lions. I'm sure Detroit Lions fans would be happy about that. And I think this still works out pretty well for the Miami Dolphins. You're talking about a team that had 3 first-round draft picks going into this draft. And if this trade goes through, with which the trade value is equal, that means that they have the 35th overall pick, which is just 3 picks after the first round. So still 2 high-quality picks here for the Miami Dolphins. And with the 9th overall pick, the Miami Dolphins look at their future, and they get Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback out of Alabama, with the 9th overall pick. So now you got the best offensive linemen in the NFL draft. And you got a guy who, before his injury, a lot of scouts said he was the best quarterback in this year's NFL draft. I think if the Miami Dolphins got both those weapons, especially both in the top 10, I think they'd be very happy with that. Remember, they'd still be picking in this scenario. Their next pick would be 35, which is just outside that first round. I'm sure they'd be very happy with that as we get to the 10th overall pick. And again, we go offensive tackle with the Cleveland Browns, and the Cleveland Browns select Jedrick Wills, offensive tackle out of Alabama. Listen, we know they got a stud in Baker Mayfield. We know they got a stud in Chubb in the backfield. We know they got some pretty good wide receivers. Now we just need to get Baker Mayfield some time to throw the ball, those receivers time to get open, and I think this would go a long way at getting Jedrick Wills, offensive tackle out of Alabama. So that's my top 10 and some news and notes from the top 10. Well, I had 2 trades in the top 10. The Jaguars trading up to 3, moving Detroit back to 9, and Detroit trading again, moving back to 18, giving Miami the 9th overall pick, and the Miami selecting Tua Tagovailoa. So that means I have 3 quarterbacks going in my top 10 if you include Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and Tua at 9. So 3 quarterbacks, 2 trades, not a single wide receiver, but I promised you that's about to change, because with the 11th overall pick, the New York, New Jersey Jets are on the clock, and we know that the Jets need some wide receiver help. Again, if you're a Bills fan, you're really interested in this pick, and I think the Jets pull the trigger. I think the Jets get who many people believe is the #1 overall wide receiver in this year's NFL draft. The New York Jets select Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver out of Alabama. And again, this starts a minor run on wide receivers in the NFL draft. I think at 12, the Las Vegas Raiders go wide receiver as well. We know how much the Vegas Raiders love going wide receiver in the first round of an NFL draft. And with the 12th overall pick, the Las Vegas Raiders again select a wide receiver, selecting CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver out of Oklahoma. And then with the 13th overall pick, you have the San Francisco 49ers, who had a trade recently to get the 13th overall pick from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I believe it was. But I'm not sure, not Tampa Bay, they're the next one to pick. I forget who they traded up with to get this pick, but I'm not sure that the San Francisco 49ers will be going wide receiver here, and here's why. If you look at the board, the way it's laid out in my mock right now, there's a name that really sticks out, a name that a lot of mock drafts have going in the top 10, and if he's still sitting there at 13, I think it's hard to look past him, to be honest with you. And remember what San Fran did last year with wide receiver. Remember they picked up Emmanuel Sanders in a trade with the Denver Broncos. We've already seen 2 wide receivers, 2 stud wide receivers, go in trades with DeAndre Hopkins and Stephon Diggs. There's no reason to think that the San Francisco 49ers don't have a trade in the works, maybe for a wide receiver. Now, what I learned after I did this mock is the San Francisco 49ers, after these the first two picks they have in the first round, do not pick again until round 5. I think that would have changed what I thought the San Francisco 49ers were going to do. Maybe they would be a trade partner for somebody so they get some day 2 picks potentially here. But with the 13th overall pick, I have the San Francisco 49ers selecting Derrick Brown, defensive tackle out of Auburn. Then 14, you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Again, another offensive tackle goes off the board as they select Austin Jackson out of USC. To be honest, I'd be surprised if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do anything but offensive line at the number 14 overall pick, just because you just got TB12, right? Who's going to hopefully be a franchise-type quarterback for a few years, but you also know that he's pretty much a statue back there, sitting there at 42 years of age. His legs aren't what they used to be, and believe me, they never used to be good. So you need an offensive line that's going to protect for him. Tampa Bay's offensive line was sluggish at times last season. So with the 14th overall pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Austin Jackson, offensive tackle out of USC. That gets us to number 15. And the Denver Broncos, again, a team that could really use a wide receiver. We've only seen 2 wide receivers go so far. I think this is a spot where the 3rd wide receiver goes, and that's Henry Ruggs, the 3rd wide receiver out of Alabama. I think the way the draft has fallen so far, Denver can't afford not to pick a wide receiver. I think getting a wide receiver like Henry Ruggs III at 15 is really good pick volume right there. I think that's a really good quality pick at 15. So they can go down to 16. And again, 16 is a very interesting spot for me because you really start to see teams think they can trade up and not have to give up as much as they would have in the first 15 picks, and that is exactly what happens. The Atlanta Falcons sitting there at 16 see a potential trade partner, see some value there. They know that there's a name on the board that this team would be interested in, and they definitely get a haul of picks for the 16th overall. So with the 16th overall pick, the Atlanta Falcons complete the third trade of my 2020 NFL mock draft, trading with the New England Patriots for the 16th overall pick. In this trade, the Atlanta Falcons trade to the Patriots the 16th and 143rd overall pick, and the Atlanta Falcons receive the Patriots 23rd, 87th, 98th, and 172nd overall pick. Listen, guys, the Patriots have a lot of draft picks this year in the NFL draft. I'm pretty sure they have double digits. There's no reason why you don't think they would trade up. They wouldn't use some of the picks to trade up just a little bit and get a guy that could potentially be their quarterback of the future. Remember, Stidham's the guy right now, and I just don't know if they have enough faith in him to run this franchise. I think that Belichick's going to want another guy in there to compete with Stidham, maybe even get the starting job. So with the 16th overall pick after the Falcons traded to the New England Patriots, the New England Patriots select Jordan Love, quarterback out of Utah State, the fourth best quarterback on the board. He's been moving up draft boards lately, and I think when you sit at 16 and he's still on the board, and you look at a team like the Patriots who really need a quarterback at this time without Tom Brady there, I think that they want as many options as they can. So picking up Jordan Love here, I think, is a good pick for the New England Patriots. Again, let me know what you think. Obviously, if you're watching this, you're probably a Bills fan, or a lot of Bills fans are going to be watching this. So you now see the future of the AFC East with the Miami Dolphins at 9 taking Tua Tagovailoa, and now here we are at 16, the Patriots moving up and taking Jordan Love, quarterback out of Utah State. Again, the trade with Atlanta, the Patriots get picks 16 and picks 143. Atlanta receives the 23rd and the 1st, 87th and 98th, and 172nd. So they get a slew of picks to move back and give that Patriots the 16th overall pick. You move to 17, you have the Dallas Cowboys, and this is where you see another cornerback taken off the board. Again, now you're going to see back-to-back cornerbacks in my mock draft. C.J. Henderson out of Florida is going to be taken 17th overall by the Dallas Cowboys. The Detroit Lions now having 3 picks in the first round with back-to-back trades in the NFL draft in 2020. With the 18th overall pick, they select Trevon Diggs, cornerback out of Alabama. So again, in this mock, the Detroit Lions traded from 3 to move down to 9, and then traded from 9 down to 18, picking up some extra first-round picks in the process. This is the first of 3, and they pick up Trevon Diggs, cornerback out of Alabama. I know a lot of Bills fans want to see possibly a Diggs reunion. I don't think he's going to make it that far. I have him going into the middle to late first round to the Detroit Lions. Then you have the Las Vegas Raiders with their second first-round pick of the 2020 NFL Draft, and I think here they address the outside linebacker position. We saw what they did earlier in the draft when they selected CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver. Now they look at the defense, and they select Kenneth Murray, outside linebacker out of Oklahoma. You go down to 20. This is now the second of Detroit's now 3 first-round mock draft picks in the first round in my mock. And the Detroit Lions select A.J. Epineza, defensive end out of Iowa. I know a lot of people had the Bills possibly picking up when the Bills had their first-round draft pick. I'd have the Detroit Lions picking up that defensive end here in the first round. You move to the 21st overall pick. The Philadelphia Eagles have the 21st overall pick, and we all know that the Eagles are desperate for a good wide receiver. They're going to take the best wide receiver available at 21, and I believe that is going to be Justin Jefferson, wide receiver out of LSU. Talk about some length there. A guy that can get downfield, definitely a deep ball threat for the Philadelphia Eagles that they desperately need. Someone to give once a target to throw the ball to, a young guy. We know Deshaun Jackson's back there, but his age is catching up to him. And so now they get a guy who can learn from Deshaun Jackson Jefferson and who could be an immediate impact to that Eagles offense. The Eagles select Justin Jefferson with the 21st overall pick. Then you go to where the Buffalo Bills would have picked in the first round if it wasn't for that Stephon Diggs trade. You go to the 22nd overall pick, now owned by the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings now looking to replace Stephon Diggs. Might be reaching a little bit here at the wide receiver position, but we've seen some of the higher name wide receivers already go. But the Minnesota Vikings realize, hey, we need to pick up a wide receiver, and they get just that with the 22nd overall pick. The Minnesota Vikings select Jalen Reagor, wide receiver out of TCU. Next on the board is the 23rd overall pick, owned by the Atlanta Falcons, and we get a selection from a position we haven't heard anything from so far in my mock draft. That's the running back position. We're sitting at 23. We know how much the Bills are looking to possibly go in the second or third round and get a running back. While here, the first one is off the board. That is DeAndre Swift, running back out of Georgia, goes with the 23rd overall pick to the Atlanta Falcons. Moving down to 24, the New Orleans Saints are on the clock. The Saints know that their time with Drew Brees is kind of coming to an end, but he just signed a new contract for 2 seasons, so they don't necessarily have to go quarterback here. They can wait a little bit, maybe get one later. Again, a name like Jake Fromm might appear when you're thinking about the New Orleans Saints. We'll see what happens there, but I think in the first round, they go after defense, right? They continue to try to make that defense better and better. We know the weapons they have on offense. We know how good this offense can be. We want that defense, or at least if you're a Saints fan, you want that defense to match such production. So the New Orleans Saints, with the 24th overall pick, select K'Lavon Chaisson, outside linebacker from LSU. You go down to the 25th overall pick, you have the Minnesota Vikings. It wasn't too long ago the Minnesota Vikings signed Kirk Cousins to an outrageous contract that he hasn't lived up to, in my opinion. But they know that they also need to protect the man back there, and they just got a new wide receiver, a new weapon, a new toy, hopefully, that Cousins can throw to. So now you have Adam Thielen still there, and then with their first pick, they pick up Jalen Reagor. Hopefully they get some more weapons in this draft if you're a Minnesota Vikings fan, but you have to protect the quarterback. That's the name of the game. We saw a run on offensive tackles early in the draft, but now this one comes off the board as the Minnesota Vikings select Ezra Cleveland, offensive tackle out of Boise State. I think this might be a little high for Ezra Cleveland, but if the Vikings need an offensive tackle, you need to get one while you can, as they're falling off the board a little bit here. This is the last offensive tackle that may be available that has a potential first-round grade. So I have the Minnesota Vikings with the 25th overall pick selecting Ezra Cleveland, offensive tackle from Boise State. Then you have the Detroit Lions getting their third first-round draft pick. Now, again, with my 2 mock drafts I mocked earlier, the Detroit Lions ended up with 3 first-round picks. And with their third first-round pick, the 26th overall pick, the Detroit Lions select Javon Kinlaw, defensive tackle out of South Carolina. So if you look at the Detroit Lions draft, again, getting 3 first-round draft picks for the price of 1. They did a really good job in my mock. If this really turns out to be the case, I think the Detroit Lions will have had the best first round in the NFL this season, in the 2020 NFL draft. As with the 20th pick, they get defensive end. The 18th pick, they get a cornerback. And now with the 26th overall pick, they get defensive tackle. 3 first-rounders spent all on that defensive side of the ball. Make that defense a monster, and then you can work on the offense shortly after that. So 27, you have the Seattle Seahawks. I think this player has been on the board a little bit longer than I would expect him to be on Thursday. But with the 27th overall pick, he doesn't get overlooked anymore. Yetur Gross-Matos out of Penn State, defensive end. Finally, here's his name called in the virtual draft with the 27th pick overall. Seattle tries to get a little bit of that toughness back on defense, selecting a defensive end, Yetur Gross-Matos out of Penn State. You go down to the 28th overall pick, currently owned by the Baltimore Ravens, and with the 28th overall pick, the Baltimore Ravens select outside linebacker Patrick Queen out of LSU. Now we have our next trade. Like I said, I had a few trades this mock draft. This is the 4th trade of the NFL, of my 2020 NFL mock draft, so I don't know if you guys will agree with this one or not. If this were to happen again, this really impacts the AFC East. With the 29th overall pick, the Tennessee Titans trade with the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots going to the 2021 beg for the draft and use the 2021 draft capital to move back into the 29th overall pick, move back into the first round. But since it's late first round, you normally don't have to use a first round draft pick to get the 29th overall pick in a trade. So in this trade, the Tennessee Titans give up the 29th overall pick, giving that to the New England Patriots. However, New England pretty much decimates most of their draft the rest of this season and some of the 2021 season. They give up their third round pick in this year's draft, the 100th overall pick, and they give up their second and third round picks in next year's NFL draft. If you include this with the trade that they made at 16 with the Atlanta Falcons, really limits what the New England Patriots can do in the NFL draft both this season and next season. However, they need that kind of help to get this team going a little bit again after losing Tom Brady. So with the 29th overall pick after the Patriots trade with the Tennessee Titans, the New England Patriots select Denzel Mims, wide receiver out of Baylor. I think, again, if you look at the wide receiver tree that the New England Patriots had last season, it wasn't a surprise that it wasn't the greatest season for Tom Brady. Now, the New England Patriots did try, right? They had Gordon come in during the offseason, hoping that he would come back to some sort of form that he was previously at. That didn't happen. They brought in Antonio Brown. That didn't work. So the Patriots tried. Nothing worked. So they're going to try again and get a wide receiver in the first round. They pick up Denzel Mims, wide receiver out of Baylor. Then you go down to the 30th pick, and the Green Bay Packers looking to protect Aaron Rodgers. Who knows how many years Aaron Rodgers has left, but you know that those years won't be as many if you can't protect him. Again, we see a lot of offensive tackles going in the first round of the 2020 mock draft that I have out, and there's another one going at number 30 as the Green Bay Packers select Josh Jones, offensive tackle out of Houston. So now there's only 2 picks left in my mock draft for the 2020 NFL season, and there's the San Francisco 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs, both representatives in the Super Bowl last year. Again, if I would have known that after the 2 first-round picks, the San Francisco 49ers don't have a pick again until the 5th round, this might have gone a little bit differently. However, with the 31st overall pick, the San Francisco 49ers select cornerback Christian Fulton out of LSU. I think that corner may be a need in the near future for the San Francisco 49ers with some of the age of their other cornerbacks, Richard Sherman especially. And I think that this guy can fill that need, and he can fill it really nicely. So with the 31st overall pick, I have the 49ers selecting Christian Fulton, cornerback out of LSU. Then we move on to our defending Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. I think Kansas City Chiefs are looking good as current Super Bowl champions. I think that a lot of people, including Vegas, have them as favorites to repeat as the Super Bowl champions. We'll see what happens. We know how hard it is to repeat in the NFL, but with the 32nd overall pick, I have the Kansas City Chiefs selecting another offensive tackle. So I think that's 6 offensive tackles that I have going off the board in the first round. It's important to protect that quarterback. They select Isaiah Wilson, offensive tackle out of Georgia. So that is my first round NFL 2020 mock draft. Let me know what you guys think. Again, I only do one of these things. It's Monday, right before the draft. I hope you guys are looking forward to the NFL draft on Thursday night. Remember that on Tuesday, I'm going to give you my full 7-round Buffalo Bills mock draft without trades. And then on Wednesday, I'm going to give you my full mock draft with trades, and then my full Buffalo Bills mock draft with trades. And then Wednesday evening, I want you guys to join me as we talk NFL draft the day before, and we go through a 7-round mock draft for the Buffalo Bills. We'll vote on the picks together, and we'll see how much we like our mock draft as we do it together. I've seen some other YouTube channels do that as far as Bill's YouTube channel. Seems like a lot of fun. We're going to try it ourselves and see how we do. Again, thank you guys for joining me on this edition of Believers Talk. If you're new, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, like this video. Let me know what picks you disagreed with, right? Again, everyone has their own version of their mock draft. Let me know what you guys think. I look forward to hearing your opinion. I look forward to reading your comments. I look forward to talking to you all soon. Until I do, go Bills.